Okay, so if you're following along in your simplified guidelines, I am now on page 6 under answer introductory remarks. That first one right there says 2-part answer or 3-part answer, 4-part answer, etc. You can have many answers. Typically, we don't see really high numbers early on in the year. You're going to hear more just like 2-part, 3-part answers. Okay, but a multiple part answer, introductory remark, means that multiple answers are required. It's when the question requires more answers than there are parts in the question. So if you just have one question, but that one question is requiring, say, 3 answers, then you would say a 3-part answer. So the example question I have for this is 3-part answer from the section titled John the Baptist Denies Being the Messiah. John wasn't whom? So if you know chapter 1, you know that that's going to come from verse 25, John 1:25. And the answer, the 3 answers would be the Messiah, Elijah, the prophet. John wasn't whom? Messiah, Elijah, prophet. We asked one question, but it needed 3 answers. Okay, all those answers are right there in verse 25. Now, so if you remember, we talked in an earlier video about a 2-part question, 3-part question, and so on. If it's a 2-part question and it has 2 answers, it's not going to say 2-part question, 2-part answer. When you say 2-part question, we assume that there are 2 answers unless the introductory remarks tell us otherwise. So again, if there are more answers than there are questions, then we have to specify that so the quizzer knows. So you might have a 2-part question, 3-part answer. You might have a 3-part question, 5-part answer. These things can be combined, okay? But just the simple thing to know is multiple part answer. So 2-part answer, you're going to have more answers than there are questions, okay? Okay, can you tell I just paused that video? My kids are getting loud. Okay, I'm back. So this next one, we hear a lot. So I want to make sure everyone understands this one really well. This one is called give a complete answer. Okay, it can only be used when all the required answers have multiple phrases, clauses, and or keywords. And the answer has to come from only one verse. If your kids went to Bible quiz camp this year or last year, this was drilled into their heads over and over and over, okay? So if the answer to the question is just one word, say Jesus, that cannot be labeled to give a complete answer. But maybe in the verse it says, Jesus Christ, the Son of God, that could be give a complete answer, okay? So it has to be more than one word. That's really important. If it's labeled give a complete answer and the quizzer buzzes in and they only give one word, there's no way they can be counted correct. They're going to be wrong, no matter what that one word was that they gave, okay? So they're going to have to give all of the phrases, clauses, and keywords when they answer. That's what was drilled into their heads at quiz camp. All the phrases, clauses, and keywords. The other thing is it has to come from only one verse. We need the kids to understand this. Hopefully the coach is already doing this with them in their practice. If a question is give a complete answer and the quizzer at some point during their answer, maybe in the beginning of it, in the middle, the end, whatever, well, at the end it wouldn't matter. But if they go to a different verse than where the answer is coming from, they're automatically counted wrong. I'm not going to take the time to find that exact rule. It's in the simplified guidelines, but they're give a complete answer. It has to stay from just the one verse unless the introductory remarks say something like give a complete answer from 2 consecutive verses or 3 consecutive verses. Otherwise, one verse. So the quizzers have to be really careful that they stay in just that one verse only. That's another reason why it's important for them to know where the verses break. Because sometimes, as you've seen, a verse doesn't break at the end of a sentence. It might be in the middle of a sentence. And if a quizzer doesn't know that, they might keep talking and go into the wrong verse, and they're counted wrong, and it stinks. But That's the rule. So give a complete answer. You have to have all the multiple phrases, clauses, keywords, and it has to be from one verse only. Okay. Sometimes you're going to hear this combined with the two-part answer or three-part answer. So it might say give two complete answers, give three complete answers. Okay. With a lot of these introductory remarks, you'll get used to hearing them combined. It might be a little bit confusing at first, but really there's only certain combinations that we hear over and over and over. It's not until you get up into the real advanced divisions that you hear just some more complicated combinations. And by that time, the kids are used to it. So don't be afraid of those. Okay, let's stop right there.